Okay. Well, I'm very excited to welcome you all here today, and we'll get started now. I'm happy to be here for this exciting announcement. My name is Naomi Meissen, and I'm the communications manager for the First Nations Finance Authority. A few words about how we proceed. With us, we have our CEO and President, Ernie Daniels, and we also have Terry Paul, who is the Chief and CEO of Membertou in Cape Breton. Ernie and Terry will have some remarks for you. We will follow that by answering any questions that you may have, including from those people who have called in today. Please note that our news release has been posted in the chat along with a list of projects that we will be discussing today. With that, I will ask Ernie Daniels to talk about the milestone FNFA has reached.
Thank you, Naomi, for that. Well, thank you and welcome, everybody. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. With me today is Terry Paul, the Chief and CEO of Membertou First Nation in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Today, we are announcing that the First Nations Finance Authority, or FNFA, has surpassed a $2 billion milestone in financing to First Nation governments. With the issuance of our latest intent debenture, we are ensuring that 25 First Nations across Canada access $356 million now to meet community priorities, including childcare services, housing, and job creation. This milestone is a first for a First Nation-led institution in Canada. FNFA is completely self-sufficient and does not rely on any external funding. The re-lending rate to our members is 4.28%, which is 2.92% below bank prime rate. So our members can build critical infrastructure on and off reserve today. Since the first debenture was issued in 2014, the projects financed by FNFA have created nearly 20,000 jobs and improved quality of life on many reserves. Projects covered by the latest debenture include on-reserve housing in Cooksbury, British Columbia, construction of a grocery store in Glooscap, Nova Scotia, and upgrades to a water waste treatment plant in Mississaugas of Scugog Island, Ontario. Membertou, along with the 6 other Mi'kmaq communities, will use money from the 10th debenture to refinance the Clearwater Seafoods loan. I would like to ask Chief Terry Paul to say a few words about what the financial support through FNFA means to those communities. Terry?
All right, thank you, Ernie. As you may know, a coalition of Mi'kmaq First Nations in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland bought Clearwater Seafoods in 2021 in partnership with Premier Brands of British Columbia. It was a historic billion-dollar deal and the single largest investment in the seafood industry by any Indigenous group in Canada. To say that this deal was a game changer for us is a big understatement. It has completely transformed our communities, and it would not have been possible without FNFA. We now have access to the offshore fishery from an ownership position, something we could only ever dream about before. And the company is going through from strength to strength. Imagine we having the largest holdings of shellfish licenses and quotas in Canadian fisheries. For us, this is a remarkable example of economic reconciliation, one that is providing jobs and a much better quality of life for our communities and our children for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Paul. Chief Paul and I are happy to take any questions you may have.
If you can please give your affiliation when you ask the question so we can make note of that, it would be greatly appreciated. I'm just going to note and see if we have anybody's hand up or if anybody would like to ask a question.
Can I jump in here with a question?
Absolutely.
It's,
Over to you, Ian.
with the Canadian Press. Ernie, just kind of curious what the barriers are to lending more. If it is funding on your side of what you're able to provide, or capacity on First Nation side, kind of what is the barriers to kind of rolling out more money, more funding?
Oh, thank you. Great question. Yeah, it's a combination of all those things you mentioned, but mainly it's we have a process on what First Nations have to go through, and so that takes some time. It's called a scheduling process and and a certification process. So the other thing that's a barrier is sometimes First Nations lack adequate revenue sources that could be leveraged. But in most cases, a lot of our nations do have revenue sources and are able to do it. I guess it's more of a timing thing for First Nations to go through the step process in order to access the services of the FNFA.
And you say it is fully self-sufficient. Would more federal government direct support help roll this out more, or kind of speed things up, or would you like to see more outside support on this?
Yeah, so the federal government is they're only involved in the scheduling process. So a First Nation needs to request to the Minister of CERNAC, Crown Indigenous Relations, to work under the Act, because the Act is voluntary. It's not forced on the First Nations. So they request that, and it's the government process that we don't know about. The process with our sister organization, the Financial Management Board, that process is a timely process, but it can be done quickly. It depends on the capacity of the First Nation, and also timing of First Nations meetings. So, and working through the FNFA, it's very easy, as Chief Terry Paul can attest to. But yeah, so the government can speed up the scheduling, and also one of the things that the government can do, the government of Canada can do, is do different types of funding mechanisms that allow revenues to be leveraged over a longer period of time. For example, the infrastructure gap that exists in our communities today is $350 billion. And the government does a pay-as-you-go funding model where they only allocate a certain amount each year. And it's never enough to close this gap. So the gap is widening all the time. So we've introduced a concept called monetization, which this is monetizing federal government transfers like a house mortgage. So you can build more today at today's costs and pay it off over time. Thank you.
So I'm just gonna hand this over to Paul Withers, who posted a question in the chat. Can Chief Terry Paul please provide more details on the refinancing debt?
Okay, our coalition acquired 50% of the company, the billion-dollar company. So our share was 500 million. So we were able to get 250 from the FNFA, and the other amount it became a sub debt, which our partner Premium Brands had graciously afforded us. So after several months of being in this agreement, we were able to negotiate $100 million buy down of the sub debt, which in turn helps us get cash flow to the community from the company a lot sooner. So, and that cash flow is going to all the 7 coalition members.
Paul, does that answer your question?
Can you hear me, Naomi?
Yes, we
so-
can.
So, Chief, I know last time I spoke to you in Boston at the seafood show, you were celebrating a record year for Clearwater. I'm wondering whether or not you see more debt payments being made, or how you see it reducing, given the profit that you're seeing out of Clearwater these days.
Well, the more we make, the more we're able to pay, pay the debt like that. So quicker, the sooner. That's how we feel. All the 7 coalition members, that the sooner we can pay off the debt, the better off we are.
Would you be able, Chief, to indicate what kind of cash you're able to pay out on a yearly basis to the coalition members? Would you be able to share that? I'm wondering what it actually means in terms of money flowing into those First Nations.
I'm not able to say the total or what. I don't feel, that I should be saying what the other communities receive, but Membertou will be getting about 3 million a year in free cash flow.
That's an answer. Thank you.
If I could add to that, what's really key in this case is refinancing high interest rate debt to the financing rates that First Nations can get through working with the FNFA. You can see that it's much lower than what a bank prime loan would be, or even any private financing. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, can I just, if you can hear me, this is Zane Woodford from allnovascotia.com. I just wanted to clarify part of the response to Paul's question. So does that mean the 100 million is now financed through the First Nations Authority rather than through Premium Brands?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Daniels, can you speak to whether there are any other projects in Nova Scotia that you're looking at right now? Particularly, I'm thinking about wind projects in the province.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know of any specific projects, but I'm aware of a number of projects that we financed in the past. I do know there's a group of First Nations that are looking at taking control of water, like establishing a water authority, which will require financing in the future, because water and wastewater systems are usually in a municipal type of environment are financed long term, and so that's the goal here with the water authority there. So we look forward to working with them on that project and any other projects that come to mind. Whether it's alternative energy, wind farms is a projects that we financed in other places in Canada. Yeah, thank you.
If I could just ask one more follow-up. I know at one point you were looking into creating a new insurance company, sort of through the authority. Is that? Can you give us an update on that project?
Oh yes, I can. I'd be happy to. Yeah, so we're working on this. We've advanced our research and the preliminary work that we needed to do. It's advancing pretty quickly now, and we hope to have our research and all of that preliminary work done in this calendar year, and we expect to be moving forward with a recommendation and structure on how the best to set up this private insurance, I guess, coalition where we're purchasing, we're actually accumulating purchasing power. So that's the whole goal of this, so we can have better control over what kind of rates and what kind of coverage we can get.
Thank you, Zane, for that question. Were there any additional questions? Let's take a minute. Hearing none, and if there are no more questions, we can bring this to an end. I would encourage you to please visit our website for more information about the projects involved in the latest adventure. You can also find information about our campaign to utilize monetization, as Ernie had mentioned, to build even more priority infrastructure and provide more services in First Nations. To do that, we are urging the federal government to set aside $200 million to start that can be monetized by us to build infrastructure in the same way that provinces and municipalities do. First Nation owned source revenues support FNFA loans. These revenues are not enough to close the infrastructure gap with the rest of Canada, a gap that is estimated at a staggering $349.2 billion. Thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernie, and thank you, Chief Terry Paul, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.